Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone out there. Here comes ClariTea Chat once again to you, the 23rd edition of Ask Me Anything. And this is the 84th episode of ClariTea Chat. So, as suggested by many of you, we have slowed down. This is now a fortnightly version. And you saw the new creative video put together by my team encapsulating that. So, well, in this video, there are some promises about multiple formats and making it more interesting, more purpose driven. That we will. But I think for now, the promise of ClariTea Chat 2.0 has been fighting a losing battle against my travel and my team of sites. We're working in a virtual mode nowadays, but it's very, very important to establish a face-to-face connect, and which is what we did for our Flock and Go team with a 4-day offsite in Mumbai. Great time, great bonding. Yeah, but didn't give me enough time to prepare um, for an interactive session for an interview session. But nonetheless, the free flowing Ask Me Anything session is an opportunity for us to have a stimulating conversation and very candid discussion on any kind of topics, technology management. As you would have seen, the three keywords of ClariTea Chat have come out of your feedback only. That it is technology, leadership, and insights. This is what ClariTea Chat brings to you. So let's aspire to do this in this session as well. So please ask any questions or anything related to managing technology or leadership or any insights that you're looking for in solving any of your chronic issues or any problem that you're facing at the workplace, which you think others may also be facing. So as usual, we have some backlog of past questions which we will cover today. For example, the industry 4.0 to 5.0. That was interesting because that led me and my team to look around for, hey, what is the industry 5.0? So some interesting, diagrams we came across. We'll show those to you. Uh, Very interesting question on, what makes for a successful analytics use case, etc. And of course, we'll balance it against the live questions from your side. As always, you'll get honest answers, case studies, or practical approaches and thought processes. It's all experiences, no gyan. So, but before going ahead, let me request all of you, my audience, to share your name and where you're joining from in the comment box of YouTube or LinkedIn. And yes, thanks for attending. Let us see who all have joined us so far, who has put in a comment here. I see Sumit, as always, welcoming everyone here. And then we have another Sumit Agrawal. Hey, hi, Sumit. How are you, man? Okay. So, guys, please mention your name and where you're joining from. Otherwise, for me, it's all alone, sitting in front of a laptop, not even knowing whether somebody is listening to me. Do send in your comments. um, so we also have an opportunity for any one of you to come, come in our studio. So just, if you see there's a discussion where you want to contribute, or a discussion you want to initiate, please send a message, and then my team will send you the virtual studio link. So that option is always open in the AMA sessions. Please use it. Okay, so no questions so far here. So let's pick up some of the questions that are lying in our backlog. That means questions we were not able to answer when they came in another of these clarity chat sessions, primarily because of the lack of time, right? So, or maybe, I was not able to answer it that time. I wanted to get more information. And the first question is something like that. It says, what about industry 4.0 to 5.0 transformation? Well, I wasn't sure whether there is a 5.0, but yes, there is a 5.0. So let's first understand, what was industry 4.0 about. Um, this was all about, technology, flexibility, and productivity focused. Primarily, a lot of emphasis on industrial IoT, machines. Machines sort of generating a lot of data, and uh, quite a bit of operational resilience coming because of that. Higher up times, and I would say much better productivity, maintainability, etc. In industry 5.0, is primarily um, human centric. So there's quite an emphasis on human machine interaction. It's resilient, it's agile and resilient with flexible and adaptable technologies. As you put more and more technologies to operations out there, the number of failure points also increase. So industry 5.0 is about resilience. And I think the most important thing, which probably the first time in any of our industry, X.0 we are coming up with, is sustainable. So sustainability, and your carbon footprint, these things become important. So um, what are some of the enabling technologies here? Maybe, hey, Vinay, can you just bring in that first creative, please, if you have it already? The three, yeah, yeah, the three pillars of Industry 5.0: human centric, resilient, and sustainable. And then I want to bring in another creative here again, Vinay, if you can bring in the next one, which is the enabling technologies. Oh, I don't know. Okay, let me see if I can go on one side here. Okay, yes. So the enabling technologies, in the physical world, bio-inspired technology and smart materials. We're trying to reduce the friction of our various transport equipment. Studying the animals and how they are able to move fast. Energy efficiency and autonomy. On the virtual world, we have data transmission, storage analysis, artificial intelligence, and this coming together with human machine interaction and digital twins and simulation. So, uh, the digital twins are an interesting, I would say, simulation of the physical reality in a very, very, I would say, high fidelity human. Vinay, you can remove that. Yeah. Uh, you can remove the creative, Vinay. Yeah. So digital twins are, what render a huge amount of data that's coming out of your IIoT equipment and technologies into, into sort of a visual simulation of your operations. So it could be like, your factory on a screen with the red, yellow, green, or it could be your, equipment like a turbine or a engine, again, gathering data. So all the data that you're gathering from different sensors simulates it in a very, very visual and interactive way. And that makes it very easy for you to build that resilience which comes out of, like, pinpointing where the problem is. Um so that's about Industry 5.0. What I would do is, I'll request my team to put the link of this article from where these visuals were taken in the comment section, and also include it in our session summary later on. So, Sumit, if you can do that, that will be great. Meanwhile, I see some comments flowing in here. So we have Sumit here. He's from Pune. Have a question on current tech layoffs across the globe. Is this trend also coming for non-tech industries in this year? What's your view? Oh, this is a great question, Sumit, and I was definitely reading about it. I think what happened in tech was what is happening in tech is sort of a course correction. So you see when the stock market, like, jumps suddenly quite a few notches. There's a cool down period that happens. It comes down and then takes a breather, and then again it starts going up. So it's that kind of a breather. So let's recall what happened. As the world was hit by COVID, and as these shutdowns and those what do you call as we kind of got locked up in our homes, due to COVID, uh, the demand for technology went up, and across the board, all technologies, the demand went up, whether it's hardware or software, and suddenly, like, there was a huge demand for technology talent, and we have all gone through that pain of, that demand. So everyone added a huge number of people during that period, um, which was to basically meet that sudden spurt in demands due to the lockdowns. Now, I think what is happening that time, nobody predicted that there will be an inflation and recession. So what happened around the same time was that the governments also opened up their coffers, and they released a lot of money in the system in the form of tolls or support. People got money sitting at home, and I think there are some trillions of dollars, at least $4 to $5 trillion, which were pumped into various economies. Now, um, what happens, if any one of you has studied economics, what happens whenever you increase the money supply in the economy, it results in inflation. Now people have a lot of money in their hands. They go out and they go out and buy a lot of stuff. So what happens that the demand increases, and the demand supply equation basically then starts affecting the prices. The prices start increasing. Okay, and then that is when and that inflation effect, because of the huge amount of money supply, um, has happened across the globe, and more so in the US, okay, which is also the largest market for IT. And what happens then is that the central banks, they start increasing the interest rates, which is again what has happened everywhere. Um, the interest rates in US are like almost all-time high, in the last 30-40 years. And that is basically an effort by the central banks to reduce inflation. Okay. And when that happens, it again now reduces the demand for goods and services. And what that means is that you're trying to, you're trying to cool down the economy. Now, that cooling down typically can lead into a recession. So what people are, you know, predicting is that there's a recession in 2023 at least that's going to happen in US, and that then leads to has then led to people looking at, you know, whether all that euphoria-driven hiring during 2020 and 21, was it like, have we gone overboard in hiring people? So, uh, I mean, whatever I have read around in my own curiosity, like yours, this is what I have understood, the overall picture, the economic picture. So, let me summarize it. Um, there was a huge demand for technology talent, and everyone went wild hiring people during COVID. When the demand for technology talent went up. At the same time, um, central banks after central banks went overboard in pumping money to keep the economy, from recession. That has bitten back in terms of higher inflation, and the banks have been increasing the rates across the world. And the increasing of interest rates has reduced the demand for goods and services, and has led people to predict that there is going to be a recession. Um, and now the reaction that you see in terms of the tech layoffs, they are partly twofold. One is all the euphoric hiring which was done, as if there is no tomorrow, and the demand, the explosion in tech demand that happened during that time is going to continue forever. Combined with a prediction of recession, which everyone is trying to prepare for. I hope that puts it in perspective, in terms of the factors driving this one. It's still about, I think what I hear is about 4%, of the workforce is letting go. It is also releasing talent for various industries, other industries. Probably now, coming to your second question, will this same trend be seen in other industries also? Might be, if the second part of it, which is the recession part of it, is applicable to all the industries. The euphoric hiring in tech talent was only relevant for the tech industry, but the recession part of it is also applicable to all the other industries. So I hope this clarifies the all the drivers, the different drivers of tech hiring, as well as, the layoffs that are happening now. I mean, I'll be happy to answer have any other questions on this topic. But let me know if this helps you uh, make sense of the layoffs. Um, let me step back a little bit and, just share my philosophy with you. My philosophy is, when these tech layoffs happen, we start judging everything, good, bad, ugly, and we start, accusing the companies of laying off people despite making huge profits and all of that. I think before we go into a judgment mode where we start calling things or people or companies good, bad, ugly, it's actually much more important to understand why it is happening, and that understand requires a little bit of reading around, a little bit of, with an open mind, trying to gather information from different sources. And my endeavor here is, again, right now, not to say whether this is good, bad, or ugly, but just to help you make sense of it as to why it's happening. Okay. So I have Partha here. Hey, Partha. Um, Good evening. Yeah, I love the term that you use, ClariTeans. uh, so thanks for joining us from Bhubaneswar. We have Mayank Bhai joining us from Bangalore. Thanks, Mayank, for joining us. Okay. Um, and we have the question from Partha for JCB. Partha is asking, how Chat GPT going to transform our IT consulting and services? What do you feel about its potential? Yeah, Chat GPT has taken the world by storm, and people have really uh, sort of been amazed at at what it is doing, and how intelligent AI can be. So let's first understand again, like what I said earlier. Let's understand how does Chat GPT work. So does anyone know what is the full form of Chat GPT? What is the GPT? Okay, so while you type in your answer, let me tell you it is generative predetermined transformation. Chat GPT is generative predetermined transformation. So how the technology works is that it's actually um, the entire OpenAI, as OpenAI is the company behind it. So they have fed this AI system a huge amount of you can say, whatever is written word out there has been fed into it. Okay, so whatever types of content, literature, etc., etc., even art and all that with the necessary, you can say, tags and associated words and all. So it has gone through a couple of it has gone through a lot of, I would say, programming, both reinforced programming uh, uh, as well as other forms. And it has also been, so AI always has had a risk which is around, like, crossing the limits. So for example, in the first time an AI driven chatbot came out of Microsoft, it turned racist and it turned, abusive and all of that. So I think there are some boundaries which have been set this time, and ChatGPT seems to be, following within certain boundaries. Again, I think the lessons learned from the past experiments with AI. So, what it does is to convert your text. Anything that can be represented as text can be generated with ChatGPT, right? So, including, for example, programs. So I've heard that you can even ask ChatGPT to write some simple programs. Again, uh, that's language, grammar, and all of that. So, what parts of consulting and services are going to be affected? That should be the right question. Um, Not everything may be impacted, but what parts? So I think wherever there is a body of knowledge, wherever there is a body of written knowledge in terms of technical papers, in terms of presentations, in terms of contracts, in terms of solution documents. So you name anything which you have basically converted into the written word. If that's, like, fed into ChatGPT, it can actually collate across multiple sources, and it can generate good original stuff. But will it be perfect? No. ChatGPT has been known to be not error free. Okay, so you probably still require a little bit of human intervention, but yeah, a lot of voluminous work that we do today can be replaced by ChatGPT. Like, for example, you put in certain stuff and ask it to write, let's say, a proposal document, right? Now we also know that most of the proposal documents, they follow templates, and in that template you basically input whatever is specific to the client or prospect. I think those are things there where it can accelerate things a lot. So, Partha, Can it be autonomous? I don't think so. So, when something affects your work to an extent of taking away a job, and I think everyone is worried about that. Um, so, wherever the impact of, let's say, auto-generated content is not high, right? It can take away those jobs. But I think where you need to make commitments, you need to put facts and figures and all of that. That's where it will require, not that it cannot do, but it will require human intervention. It will require a sort of human review. Um, and I think so. Let me qualify now. So let's say, so you are a journalist, and there is like some, incident that has happened, and now you want to sort of write an article. See, there is enough stuff which has come onto, let's say, TV, and and sort of chat boards and all of that, and now you want to write an article about that incident. Again, the cost or the impact of that, the tangible impact of that, is not going to be very high. So a chat GPT can write that kind of an article, and you can get away with it because uh, the timing, the shelf life of that particular article is also limited. So when we say impact, let us also bring in the other dimension of it, which is the time dimension of it. If it is a let's say if you're going to write a social media article, or let's say a news article, the shelf lives of these are very, very small. So I think these are things that can easily be taken away by ChatGPT. So content writers out there, I think you need to worry about this. Okay. Um, and yeah, so when you're writing contracts, where you're making commitments, you can be held on to those commitments over a long period of time. You can probably get it drafted by ChatGPT, but you probably still will need to review it. Yes, line by line. So Partha, let me summarize this question. Okay. So Chat GPT works on the basis of a large body of written knowledge, a large body of text, or anything that can be converted to text. And so anything where the impact is low, and let us say that the shelf life of that information is small. For example, content, social media content, or for example news articles, right? Or for example, let's say support emails, etc. So those are the things where chat gpt uh, can can be adopted. But stuff where the impact of what you're doing is high, the time commitment nature of it is long. That means you do something today, it will let's say for example you're writing down an architecture document, and that's going to get executed in terms of like investments, and that's going to be with you for the next few years. You don't really want to take chances there. You may still get the initial work done, but you don't want to take chances there, by not putting a human review on top of that. So there are things, important tangible things out there where you require, where the cost and impact is high of not doing it right. I think those are areas where human beings will continue, but there are just quite a few areas where you know chat gpt can be fairly autonomous. So yeah, as far as your question around the potential, huge potential. Okay, let's keep going. Randy Logistics from Cameroon. Hey, thanks for joining. I don't yet have a name there, so maybe you can mention your name. We have Vikas. Hi, Vikas. Good evening. There is a link that we have posted. I think, Sumit, this link has gone on YouTube. So can you just put it on LinkedIn? Yes. Okay, I see that you have put it on LinkedIn as well. I see it here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have another question here. This is from LinkedIn user. Most likely it is Sets. Is that you, Sets? Okay. What's the top of the mind things you recommend that an individual working in an organization should imbibe in themselves to adapt to this global economy? Oh, great question. Okay, so top of the mind things. I think at the um, couple of things that I can think of um, is number one is I think number one at a very I would say at a very basic and mental level, I think what you require is humility. Okay, humility means I don't know enough, right? Or it's not about I'm not enough, but it's like yeah, there's so much more to learn. Like be humble means you don't think you're on top of everything. You must have the confidence, but uh, it leaves that I would say it leaves the possibility of adding to yourself. So that's what humility is, right? The opposite of humility is like where you think that yes, I'm everything and I don't need anyone. I don't you know um, I mean I'm top of my game. So I think humility then leads to learnability, because then you have an humility creates that openness all around. So learnability, whether it's in terms of skills or technology or a new language, it also leads to what I would call that cultural openness, right? So when you in this global way of working, you will come across multiple cultures, and the moment you start getting into you know uh, m- a mindset of I like this, I don't like this, we don't do it this way, we do it this way, and you start like comparing your culture with others, I think you will not go very far, right? So humility also creates that openness to accepting your cultural differences, and that openness where like hey, we can be different, right? And I think if you combine these two, where you have an openness to accept, to be very inclusive at a personal level, um, uh, working with different people, different races, classes, whatever you may call it, okay, but that's at a personal level. At a professional level is learnability. Your ability to your ability to learn things, your ability to say, "Hey, I don't know this," and then go out in pursuit of that. I think both of these have a common element, which is humility. If you have humility, you will be inclusive. You will not judge other people. You will be learnable. You will not get into a mindset that I know everything. Okay, and I think these two are very important things. So I think this may be a simplistic way to do it, but in absence of like I'm sure you will get a lot of stuff out there that you can do this, a 10-point model, 15-point model. I think at a very human nature level, um, um, the top of the mind things I recommend for an individual who adopt in this global economy: humility, leading to learnability on the professional front, where you never get into a mindset that I know everything, and therefore you're open to learn whatever it takes to succeed in your game. On a personal level, humility leads to openness and inclusiveness, and that makes you very adaptable in this global environment, working with different uh, with a diverse set of human beings. I hope that makes sense. Let me know. So that is Saujanya. I can see here. So Saujanya, I hope that answers your question. If you think I missed something, if you think you have a different opinion, or there's something else to this, please do send in another comment. Okay. Okay. So Partha, coming to your comment. Hello, Sumit. Not sure if only my transmission is being interrupted and looping on sentences in spite of refreshing multiple times. I do not see any comment from my team. Um, we do have a problem with LinkedIn, Partha. That LinkedIn, I think when you have a disconnection or when you have a network problem, I think it starts again from the beginning. So, Vinay, make it a point to to at least drop in a note to LinkedIn guys in their support request about this problem. Or it may be just a StreamYard problem. It may be a technology backend issue. Let me check my speed. My internet speed is about 40 Mbps, consistent. I don't see that issue on this side. It has happened before with us, Partha, that we've had these disruptions at the back end. Oh, so my team tells me that this is not happening with YouTube. So YouTube is working well. StreamYard is also working fine, which is our virtual studio technology. I think it's a problem with LinkedIn. So maybe if you can, if you want to, you can actually join on YouTube and see if that works better for you, Partha. Um, so we have Amer saying hello to everyone. Yeah, Sumit has sent out a link for YouTube on LinkedIn. Please follow that if you have a problem. And yeah, so I've run out of questions on LinkedIn here. Guys, please send any more questions or any cross questions if you want. And Saujanya, let me know if the answer was as per your expectations or not. So let me meanwhile pick up some questions from the backlog. So one question that has come from I think it is was what if functional professionals show interest in incorporating every exception. Okay, looks like we had a temporary disconnection. Yeah. So the question is, what if functional professionals show interest for incorporating every exception to an automation system? I think all of us face this problem, where it is typically called scope creep, but it is like, hey, this project is here. Let us try to put every single of our wish list into this one. I'm facing it right now in one of the projects where I sit on the governing board, and um, you know, so let me suggest some of the things that we can do to mitigate this, right? I think and meanwhile, like, if any one of you has any kind of ideas or solution to this problem, where people want every single wish list, every single exception out there to be part of your requirement, and then that kind of leaves you racking your brains. Please share some answers. I'm sure there's enough knowledge here. But meanwhile, let me tell you my approach. Um, so number one is that, um, the first question I have always asked when somebody wants to incorporate any kind of exceptions scenarios is to ask for data, right? You cannot say, hey, this also happens. When you be data oriented or fact oriented, the question you should be asking is, okay, how many times a day this happens, or how many times a month this happens, right? Or how many times in a year this happens. So that's number one. Number two is, you ask, what is the so one is the frequency. The second is like, the persistence of it, or you know the spread of it. That means for how many users this happens. And the third one is like, what is the impact of it. So um, now let's say, for example, if it happens once a month, okay, if something happens once a month and happens for 5 headquarter users, and the impact of it is like, a small amount of manual work that somebody has to do, um, I would keep it outside just by the power of using these facts. And I would park it, or I would not take it, by clearly mentioning that this is a very, very limited impact or limited use thing, which need not be automated, which can be handled on Excel. Let's say only it happens once a month, only 5 users get impacted, and there's no tangible impact on the business or KPIs, and this is something that can be managed as an exception. People, I don't think anyone can counter you that why it should not be done in the system. So, how do you handle this? I mean, this my view. Maybe if you have a better, you have better or something different, do mention it here in the comments. So let me summarize it. How do you manage exceptions? Requests from business users for every single exception coming out there. Um, while dealing with business process exceptions, just ask questions around the data regarding these exceptions. So, three data points. Number one is, what's the frequency? Does it happen once a day, or once a week, or once a month, or once a year? Um, Second is, to how many people does it impact? One, two, 100,000. And third is, what's the impact of it? Is there a tangible impact of it? Does your reporting really go wild because of not doing this? Do you have an audit objection when you don't do this? Or, do you have a regulatory problem when you don't do this? So, this is a fair and objective method of evaluating the business exceptions. So, you can have, let's say, an exception happening once a month affecting 3 or 4 users, no tangible impact on your compliance or audit or reporting. Just by mentioning these three things, I would recommend this be kept out of the system. But at the same time, let's say if an exception is happening maybe 2 or 3 times a month, but affecting 2,000 users, and let's say thereby impacting any of your KPIs, I would still take that in. So it's not about exception from my point of view or your point of view. It is exception because of what data says whether it is exception or not. So advice is, seek data on 3 different dimensions and then assess whether it's really an exception or is this something that needs to be built in. So Shakunja, whenever you hear this, um, let me know if this helped you, right? Okay, so we have run out of questions here. We have before I think we still have 15 minutes left. So Let me take another question here, which is from Jagdish Tambi, which is, what are the key ingredients of a successful analytics use case? Guys, any ideas, any suggestions there? Um, let me take it the other way around. And Vinay, if you can bring in that figure here, the picture here. Let's look at what makes a use case suboptimal for data analytics, right? Vinay, can you bring in? Oh, no. Okay. At least you guys can see me through it. Okay. Yeah. So one is like, the left, on the left side is limited impact on KPIs. Um, you should not be doing something if if reporting it doesn't have much impact on your KPIs, right? The technical infrastructure is too costly, or the data is not available, or the quality of data is poor, or complex modeling approach, which doesn't get you any gain, or lack of necessary people, process, technology infrastructure. So, Jagdish, on your question, uh, when you want to look at what are the key ingredients of a successful analytics use case, I think these can be like, your 5 checkpoints, that if all of these are, you can make all of these work in certain way, okay, where there's a impact on KPI, the technical infrastructure is available, the data is available, the quality of data is good, the modeling approach is not too burdensome, and you have, or you can get the necessary people, power, technology infrastructure in place. I think you have the ingredients of a successful analytics case. Okay, Vinay, you can remove it, please. Okay, so Partha is adding to a discussion here. Thanks, Partha, for contributing to the discussion. Partha, on your question on automation scope, we need to qualify each request in the business case on its outcome and benefit versus effect versus effort, or impact mitigation versus effect. But I'm looking at it from a consultant point of view. But Partha, I think, see, whatever it is, we have to be objective in it. We cannot, as technology people, we cannot say that, hey, it's an exception, I will not do it. Right? You have to explain it. First thing, you have to look at it, you have to qualify it appropriately, as you said. So outcome and benefit versus effort. Okay, so you can do some assessment. I think to do an outcome or benefit assessment, you will have to probably do the same thing. What is the impact on KPIs? What is the cost of not doing it, etc., etc., right? Versus the effort, or impact mitigation versus the effect. If there's something negative that's happening, an audit objection, a regulatory compliance issue, versus the effort. So it has to be explained to business guys in the language that they understand. And I think the common language between technology and business has to be data driven. You have to use data to uh, explain things, or to justify your points of view. Okay, so great discussion. Thank you, everyone. Let me do a quick summary of today's session. Um, so we discussed about Industry 4.0 and 5.0. Industry 5.0 is human-centric, interaction, agile and resilient, and very important, sustainability-driven. Then we discuss about you know about the whole layoff uh, uh, thing, that's making everyone worried. This question came from Sumit Agrawal, and we discuss about the two factors which are leading to this. One is the euphoric jump in hiring during COVID lockdowns, which is now sort of tapering down, and also there's a fear of recession looming in. And so while you don't require that many professionals that you thought you require, and you seem to have a prophecy of a reception. Sorry, prophecy of a recession. And both of these are driving the layoffs, which is nothing but tightening the belts, right? Then we covered another question on top of the mind things we recommend for an individual working in an organization, for working in this global economy. Uh, the the I mean the deeply internal thing is humility, which on a personal front leads to openness, inclusiveness, accepting everyone, and then understanding your differences and then appreciating those and learning from those. On the professional front, it is about the humility leading to learnability, learning different skills, technologies, domains, and keeping an openness towards that. And then we had another question around uh, this incorporating every exception to the automation system. We The answer to that was to take a data driven approach, either benefits versus efforts, or assessing it in terms of frequency, frequency, impact, as well as the number of users, right? And then creating a case whether it should be taken in or whether it should be left out as an exception. And then finally, we covered a question on the key ingredients of a successful analytics use case. We looked at it from the point of view of what does not make a good analytics use case through a creative that my team came across. And uh, and a good analytics use case has some six elements. There should be a significant impact on KPI. There should be technical infrastructure to enable the use case. The data should be available. The data quality should be good. The modeling approach can be simple and comprehensible, and there should be availability of necessary people, power, technology, infrastructure. So that's when we finish our today's session. So thank you everyone for watching, for interacting, for your great questions and the interactions and the various comments. I somehow didn't feel alone today, sitting in this room, though I'm sitting alone with all your interaction and questions. And thank you everyone who's watching the recorded version of today's session. Thank you all for also engaging on this one. So bye bye everyone. Have a great weekend. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time with the next Clarity Chat.